Welcome to SurfacePro3TechReviews.com. I'm Neil, and in this series, we're digging beneath the surface. Today I'll be talking about some safe internet browsing tips that I'll be showing you using a Windows 10 operating system on a Surface Pro 3 computer. But what you'll see here will apply to previous versions of Windows as well as most any other PC. So stay tuned. There's a lot of information to come. I know it's going to help you out a lot, so please pay attention. And let's get digging. The first thing I want to cover is antivirus software. You know, antivirus softwares have been around for quite a while now, and they are absolutely crucial to being connected to the internet and not getting infected with a lot of junk on your PC. Any antivirus software is not perfect. Some are better than others, but they are definitely a necessary part of your browsing experience. And there is actually a antivirus software that comes with Windows 10 and has been, which is Windows Defender. And I want to talk a little bit about that. And you probably are already aware that there are many antivirus suites available, and some very good ones are even free. And yet others have strings attached, or you can go all the way as far as finding some that are very expensive. So there's kind of a lot to look through, and especially if you're just getting started with the internet, or maybe you find your computer infected a bit, you know, getting pop-ups or bad messages on your machine, or even little windows that kind of wiggle around and say you need to scan your PC for viruses or speed up your PC. Never click on those links. Never click on those links. But today I want to show you about Windows Defender. So if you go into all settings, update and security, and Windows Defender, and here you will find different options, and you go through these and read them. For me, I like having all of them on, and then at the very bottom it says use Windows Defender. Now I'll click that, which takes me to this screen. As you saw in my last video, my introduction to Windows 10, there's a quicker way to get to the same screen, and I want to show you that. And that's by using the search box. So if you come in here and you just start typing Defender, you see it pops up. All I got to type is the DEF, and it takes me right open to Windows Defender. So I'll click that, and you see here's our screen that we had before. Now, this is not enabled on by default, so that brings us to the question of which antivirus software should we use. Well, Windows Defender never really focused on antivirus scanning. However, that's all changed. And Microsoft is taking more of a aggressive approach to keeping their new operating system virus free, and part of that is Windows Defender, as well as how they have made Windows 10. Does it mean it's perfect? No, but it does mean that they have amped up their security quite a bit, and instead of trying to rely on third parties to keep their operating system safe, they have started doing that themselves. And since I have been using Windows Defender, and I have not had any problems whatsoever. And I think a good antivirus software, along with good browsing habits, will give you the most enjoyable internet browsing experience. So if you haven't already, um, turn it on and tell it to go ahead and scan now. And you could do a quick scan or a full scan. And it'll give you an explanation about what each one does. And the full scan will go through your whole system with a fine-tooth comb. If you haven't been experiencing any problems, quick is usually okay. If you have, then I would use a full. Um, and it is a set it and forget it type feature. You Once you turn it on, you have real-time protection, meaning as you are browsing the internet and clicking on things, you'll even see at the bottom of Edge where it'll say running the antivirus, scanning whatever file, and so it's very good, and it'll update automatically. Usually there's updates every day. You will always want to keep those automatic, and I believe that is the default. But you have AVG, you have Panda, you have Norton, you have quite a few different antivirus software, and some of them are good, some of them are not. Some of them I find to just be more pesty than anything else. To me, antivirus should be something done in the background. I don't need to know what's going on. Just protect my computer. That's it. That's how I feel, and you take it from there. But Windows Defender is very good. And so, but before, you got Windows 10 now. Before you start doing any internet browsing, make sure you have an antivirus software running, and let it be either Windows Defender or someone else. You can't have both. Antivirus software will conflict with each other. So if you do install a second one or another one, Windows Defender will shut off. It'll know, and it'll turn off automatically unless you enable it by default. So that's my first tip. It is, and to me, as I show you through this video, you're going to see a lot of things about what I mean about bad links, links you think are helpful and they're really just advertisements. And I want to help you spot all those, and especially for elderly people who maybe they just get on the internet to do simple stuff, and they're not aware of anything. They click on things that look genuine, but really they're bad, and now they have problems with their computer because they've inadvertently clicked on bad things and downloaded bad things, and in videos to come on this little series I'm doing here, I'd also like to show what you can do to help repair your computer if you think you have downloaded some bad software on it. And I want to show these things because I think a lot of people that have a computer or a personal computer, they think that having viruses and all these bad things is part of owning a computer, and that it's either you have it or you just have to go to a different computer altogether, to an Apple or something else. But if you're going to have a computer, a Microsoft computer, then you just have to put up with the viruses and so on. But no, that's not right at all. That's not right at all. And you will see that just with good browsing habits, and even with just Windows Defender running in the background, which in my opinion is very good, even though they may not have scored very good in different tests, but Microsoft is changing that. Like I said, they never have focused on virus protection, whereas now they are. And because it's integrated into the operating system, I'm sure there's going to be some good advantages to that. So anyway, the first step is definitely to have an antivirus software running and to keep it up to date. And that begins the first part before you ever open any browser. My second tip is going to be to always make sure you have a second web browser installed on your computer. And I know that I have already said this in my introduction to Windows 10, which if you haven't seen, I encourage you to do so after you watch this one. The reason for that is, you will see I got Google Chrome, and I also have the new Edge that comes with Windows 10. And I have seen where browsers get updated and become non-functional, and you can't even use it. So if that's your only web browser that you have, well then until that is resolved, you have no way to access the internet on that machine. Not only that, there are viruses. Viruses can happen, especially before we really learn to distinguish between the bad and the good, and we really start, which even if we do, it doesn't mean we're going to be 100% virus free for 100% of our life or our computer life. It just greatly reduces that risk. But I have seen where viruses have locked up a browser and you couldn't get onto the internet. And so it is just my strongest suggestion that you download a second web browser. And you may even have another browser that you prefer anyway, whether it's Google Chrome or Firefox or Mozilla or Opera or whatever, and then that's the one you're already using, and so you get Edge in addition to it. That's great. What I want to show next is how there are bogus links on the internet, and I want to help you identify some of them. So in this example, I'm going to pretend that I want the Norton Antivirus Software, right? So Norton Antivirus, I'm going to search for it, and it brings up my list of results right here. Now, first thing I want you to know is I'm using Bing, but it doesn't matter if you're using Bing or Google or any of the other ones. If you look, right here you see, okay, here's my top results right at the top. And so you click on them, whatever they be. But what you may not see is that very small, right here, these are advertisements. This is an advertisement. This is an advertisement. And the actual links don't even begin until after this little horizontal bar. You see that? But if you don't know that, you just click on it thinking, yeah, okay, here we go. And, it doesn't mean that these are always bad or malicious, not at all. But a lot of people don't even know that they're clicking on an advertised link to begin with. Now I want to show you how to spot some bad links. And say I look at this link, Norton Security, free download and software reviews. That looks like a good one. Let me click it. So I'm going to go ahead and click it, and I'm going to get on this link, and here's the page that I see. I got a buy now button here, I got a download button here, a download button here, a download button here, a download link over here, a download link over here. Norton Security, all these links. Which one do I choose? Now, more than likely, when we click on a link and we see the download button, the first one we're going to click is the top one. Well, look, this isn't even to Norton. Here's the other key. When you hover, I want you to see that whenever you hover your mouse over a link, your mouse cursor turns into a hand. Watch. See it? It changed into a hand. Now you will also notice that, look, I'm not even over the download button, but yet my cursor is still a hand. Why? Because this whole thing is a link. So I could click here, I could click here, I could click here, I could click up on this corner, down on this corner. It doesn't matter. It's all the same link, and it is not what I think I'm downloading. Here's the next tip. On the very bottom left of my screen, right above the taskbar, it gives me the address to where this link goes. You see it? It starts http://adclick.g.doubleclick.net, so on. That's another key to look at. Before you click any link, make sure you check the actual link of or the reference to where that link is taking you. Don't click any link, no matter where you see it, before you check that. That is so critical, because that is a huge indicator, or a huge little tip to spot bogus links. Now, I'll go to this one. Download now. Right under Norton Security. How can this not be the right link? And yet you look down there, it says after the HTTP, says dwcbsi.com, and then it gives a redirect to a download button, to a download now button. You see, and even here, it is, well, wait a minute. That link is not, where is my Norton Security? You know, and the thing is everybody knows of Norton. Norton is known as a reputable antivirus software. And so people search for it. And yet when they go, before they even get it, they get infected. And you see just how easy that can be. Same thing over here. Here's another ad click over here. It looks like you would think I'm going to start my my download of Norton, but it's not. It's talking about driver update to scan for Windows drivers. Never click on those links. If you ever see a link or a pop-up, and it'll usually be while you're on the internet, about to speed up your PC, or is your PC running slow, click here to test, or any of those kinds of messages, those are totally bogus. Ignore them. Ignore them. And even more than that, if you start seeing pop-ups or little messages on the bottom, that's an indicator that your computer probably has some sort of malware on there, and you're going to want to get it addressed. And like I said, in an upcoming video, I will show you some of the techniques that ITs use to clean infected computers. And you know, these guys, they charge quite a bit of money. And yet, there are key tools that they use, and many of them are free. In fact, all the ones that I show are going to be free. And you can do so much of this yourself. And at the same time, you're educating yourself on how to be a more informed browser, you know. And so already you're learning that, hey, you know, I want to start, you know, and if you start seeing a link, the reference to it, it should match. Now, look at right here. here's a good example of what I mean, because right here, this link says www.semantic-norton.com/security. Now that's the link that I should be getting taken to, because that's the link that it shows. But look at the reference that's at the bottom left of my screen. You see that? That is not to Semantic Norton. Maybe it will eventually get you there, but that is not the way you want to get there. You don't know what it is you're clicking when you click on a referenced link that is referencing something altogether different than what the link shows. Now, I want to go back to my search results, because you will find the same thing on here. You don't have to be within a website to use those techniques about checking your links. You could check your links here. And you see, like here, for example, here's one of the advertisements. When I hover over Norton Security Antivirus, and here is the web address that it's showing, you notice when I hover over it, my reference is completely different. You see that? Let's try another one. Here, Semantic, official site, and it says semantic.com. Right? Now when I hover my mouse over there, look what it says. semantic.com/index.jsp. Right? And so now if I click that, here's where it takes me. So it goes to show you that it is so important to pay attention to those references, and most web browsers are going to do that for you. Again, I'm using Edge, Chrome does it, and like I said, most of them do, but a lot of people they don't think about it. You just go right to the link and boom, you click it. Wait a second, slow down, hover your mouse over there, and take a look at where that link is taking you, and is it matching with the reference that's given? Because if it doesn't match what's shown, beware. That's your first red flag that you should spot. Another thing, you know how there are advertisements in your search results? Well, there's also advertisements in your web pages too. And I know I kind of went through it quickly just a little bit ago, but I want to show you even here that right here, and I went back to that same page, but you'll notice, you got all these different links down here to download. You will notice, here's another thing to look for, is this little triangle right here. You see that? That means it's an advertisement. And while that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, it is good to know what is an actual link that takes you to the information you want and what is simply an advertisement. And this is just one example. You will find, now that you're aware of these things, as you start surfing the net, you're going to start seeing these things I'm showing you all over the place. And it's going to make you a whole lot more informed, and you are going to be that much in a better position to remain at a lower risk for downloading junk to your PC. Now, what I mean by that is you take a look down at these links here, and yet every one of them is an ad. Trying to highlight it. There it is. And it's light blue. You can't really see it, but you see it shows right up here that these are ads, but normally it's gray and it's sitting back there. It's hard to see, and it's easy to pass it over. And the thing is, you will find links like this that appear to be informative, and yet they're entirely advertisements. That's something good to know. You'll notice here's another one. There's that little triangle, and that's an advertisement there too. So just these are good things to have in your arsenal. Yep, there's another one. And look, here's some more. You get all the way down here, you think you're clicking on some more of what you want, and yet right at the top there's ads. And you don't know that it's an ad. And this one here, at least this one here, I gotta say, is relatively clean. At least it is not nearly as shady as some of the other ones that you'll see. And you will see them, especially now that you're aware of them. You will find sometimes a page just covered in advertisements or in bogus links. And this is going to really, if you really start watching, which you will now, even without knowing it, you're just going to be a whole lot more conscious of where you click and where it's taking you to, rather than just clicking haphazardly and, oh, okay, here we go, bing, bing, bing. And before you know it, you're getting these pop-ups about how slow your computer is, that you need to have it scanned. And those things can actually lock up your computer if you do that. There is what's called ransomware. And what makes ransomware so dangerous is that you click on one of those bogus links and it installs a lock on your computer that the software makers who created it now try and ransom you out of money to unlock your computer. Google it or Bing it. You will see that that's true. And so there's a lot to watch for, and while I think the internet is a blessing, but there's a lot of shady stuff on there. Here's one more thing I want to touch on before I move on. Is Microsoft in their Edge browser has a reading view, what they call. And you notice this page, how it's littered with ads. And some browsers, like Google Chrome, has extensions that you can get for it that actually block pop-up ads and different advertisements like that. And they do an excellent job on there, I really got to say. And that is something that Microsoft is working towards toward bringing Edge. They just haven't done it quite yet. But one small little workaround that I think works pretty well is, even though this reading view is designed for more comfortable reading of web pages, yet if you click it, you will find that it hides a lot of those pop-ups and those ads. And so even here, this kind of gives you a really nice, clean way of reading a web page, and not being so worried about accidentally clicking on a bogus link. And so even it's not its foremost intention, yet I have found that it does a reasonably well job. And not only is it nice to use and to read, but it even gives a little layer of blocking advertisements and some of that other stuff that I don't want to inadvertently click, and this hides it for me. So that is a really nice feature. And just to show you maybe what another web page looks like, because many people aren't really familiar with what that reading tab does. But say, let's see, we'll go down to you know what, here's what we'll do. We'll go to a new web page. Close that, and here we go. I want to read about this one here, and I could do the same thing here, right? You see, this is my web page, and there's a lot of stuff going on this web page. If I want to if I want to read this in a more stripped down version, you can hit this reading view button, and look at that. It doesn't take away all pictures. In fact, it tries to keep the pictures that are relevant to the article you're reading. But look how much nice and cleaner this gives you the material. And so while its main intention isn't mostly security related, it's mostly to give you a better browsing experience. Yet you can see that it helps even in security too. It does hide some of those other links that you may not want to be clicking if you knew what they actually were. One more thing I want to address is passwords. And if you go into your Edge settings and you scroll on down to advanced settings, there is a offer to save passwords and save form entries options. And what these do is, you go to a website, say it's, for example, facebook.com. Rather than having to type in your login and your password every time you go to that site, you can have Edge store your password. And Google Chrome does the same thing, and some of the other browsers. And it's a great convenience to have it on. I know maybe some people, they might say don't use them. I'm not entirely sure that's practical. Um, you know, Maybe that would be best, but for the most part, I think most people are going to do it anyway, and I do, as you can see. However, what that does mean is it means it is so important that you have a computer sign-on password. So when you go to turn on your computer, you should have a password, a good password, that is not easy to guess, that just in case, God forbid, there comes a time when you lose your computer, whether we're talking about on your phone or on your, if you got a mobile PC, that someone can't just get into your computer, because, there's a lot of damage that they can do. And one of the huge areas of damages that they can do is having these on. If they're able to get into your computer and you have your passwords on, well, you know what? They could go right to a site like Amazon, order up some stuff, have it shipped somewhere else, and guess who's getting the bill? You. And how do they know all your information? How do they even get into Amazon.com in the first place? Because they've used your web browser, which has saved your login password and your login and your password into Amazon, and now they can shop as though they are you. So you gotta use great discretion when it comes to creating a password to open up your computer. And I know Microsoft is working on Windows Hello, which is a nice feature that uses your camera, a specialized camera, in order to log you in using facial recognition, which is really nice instead of having to remember a password. Like I said in my introduction to Windows 10, because I used the Surface Pro 3 and many others like me, it would be great if they were to actually install a fingerprint scanner on a pen, on the Surface Pro pen that you could get. And I think that'd be a great way of expanding the biometric security without us having to buy more expensive hardware. Maybe the pen could be reasonably priced. I'm sure buying a pen would be a whole lot cheaper than buying the Surface Pro 4, with integrated camera that you can use Windows Hello. But anyway, that's kind of a side issue. If you're going to enable that password storing, make sure that you have a good password in place to open up your PC. And one more thing is there are some extensions that you can get, like for Google Chrome. I know you can get an extension called LastPass. In my opinion, I think it's safer to use your web browser to store the passwords than those third-party apps or extensions. And the reason being is because a lot of times your passwords and all that are uploaded onto a central server and are stored there and more easily hacked than maybe stored on in Microsoft or even on your own computer. And the reason I say that is because I had, while I was using Chrome, I did get that LastPass extension, and I never really got into it. I did use it for a couple passwords, but it wasn't long after that, maybe 3 weeks, I think, and I got an email from LastPass saying that some of their password information has been hacked into. And I was just so grateful. I was like, wow, I'm glad I didn't put more of my passwords in that thing. So that's just one more tip and how to have a more secure web experience. My other tip would be just as kind of, it's still related, but when you go to a public Wi-Fi, whether it's McDonald's or wherever else you go to where, it's free to log in and maybe there's a general password, and, then you're on and you can get on the web. Never, while you are connected using that Wi-Fi, that free Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, never go to any important sites that need confidential information. For example, if you do any online banking, do not use that public Wi-Fi to connect to the internet to check your bank account. And the reason is it is unsecured. And so whatever you do, and it should tell you that when you first log on to it, but most people probably don't even pay attention to it. They just want to hurry up and get on the internet, and before you know it, they forget that warning and they're just doing all kinds of stuff. And you can get some you can get your information compromised by being careless like that. So, and this goes for your phone too. If you got a smartphone too, and you connect to a public Wi-Fi, never do that. If you need to check your bank account, for example, and it could be any confidential website that asks you confidential information that you would not want open to the public, my advice to you is either A, wait till you get to a more secured Wi-Fi connection, whether you go home or you go to a friend's or whatever, or use your phone as a mobile hotspot and disconnect from that public Wi-Fi, connect to your phone, and use your phone's regular cellular data connection to connect through those confidential websites. And by doing that, because that is way, way more secure than any public Wi-Fi. And that goes for your smartphone too. All you got to do is shut your Wi-Fi off and use your cellular data alone to access those important websites. And then, then you could just go back, turn your Wi-Fi on, after you close out everything, and then, go back to using the public Wi-Fi for more general web searches. But that's another critical error that a lot of people make that exposes sensitive information to the people that they don't want to expose it to if they knew better. Next, I want to talk about secure websites. And let me show you what I mean. If I go to Ally, which is an online bank that I use, and here is my search results. right? And remember what I showed you earlier about checking the links. You notice here is my link, www.ally.com, but when I hover over it, notice that the link reference is to something completely different. It doesn't match. I'm not going to click on it. But if I come down here, here's another one. It says ally.com. It says the same thing, but if I hover my mouse over this one, it says exactly what it says, ally.com. That's the one I'm going to click. And when I do, you'll notice that all it says up here in my address bar is ally.com. So that means this is just a general web page. It doesn't mean it's a bad web page, but if you ever go to enter any confidential information, whether you're doing your taxes online and you need to enter in your social security number, or your banking, you go to log in your bank, anything that you require a password, login ID, any sensitive information, make sure you look up here and it should say HTTPS at the very beginning, and it should highlight green. So now watch what I mean. When I click log in, right now this is an unsecured web browser. It just means it's general. Not necessarily bad, but there's nothing on here that if I enter any sort of confidential information, then it is not secured. But if I go up here and I say log in, and I go to, let's say, auto login, bam, right away this takes me to a lock, which is a symbol that shows that this is a secured connection now. This is now a secured connection between me and Ally through the internet, and that's why it changed. And at the very beginning of this is a HTTPS. Even though we can't see it, when I click on it, you see here it is, HTTPS : / and here's that same exact address, ally.com. But because it is secured, rather than just leaving this HTTPS, Edge is doing a symbol, and many other web browsers do it too. It just to make it more easily identifiable that, hey, this is now a secured connection between you and whatever company or business that you're linked to. And so it is much more safer to enter in your information now than on this. You see that? You understand that? So whenever you go to enter in, whenever you're on the web and you go to enter in some sensitive information, check your address bar and make sure it either says HTTPS in the beginning or there is a lock symbol symbolizing that this is an HTTPS, and the S at the end of HTTPS stands for secure. Well, friends, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope that you are more confident and you can surf the web in more confidence, and you are now more educated, whether you know it or not. And maybe you need to go back and rewatch this video and maybe take some notes. This is just general stuff. This is good for everybody. It's good for everybody to know because it applies to anybody on the internet. And if you have children that watch the internet or get on the internet, make sure you teach them these principles too, because that's important too. A lot of those malicious websites and that, they prey upon the ignorant, and children and elderly are two big factors. So make sure you show them and learn it yourself well. And I thank you for watching this video again. I'm Neil. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Digging Beneath the Surface.